Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's Walt Hampton and Ann Shaybani from Summit Success for our great webinar, Get Back on Track, How to Rally in the Second Half. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes, and we can't wait to spend this time with you. We have about 2 minutes to the hour. Get ready to fire up, get back on track, how to rally in the second half.
Woohoo! Go second half.
Absolutely. So we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Get some water, get your notebook ready. We got a great hour of content to share with you. Well, good evening, everyone. This is Walt Hampton.
And this is Ann Shaybani.
We are Summit Success, where we empower the extraordinary businesses and extraordinary lives. It's just 7 o'clock. We got the dashboard lighting up here with attendees from all over. We're just going to give it a couple of more minutes before, well, probably not even a couple more minutes. We'll give it another minute because the dashboard is lighting up here. We want to give everybody a chance to settle in and grab a notebook and some water, and we're going to get going probably in about 30 seconds. So stand on by. Well, good evening again. It's Walt Hampton.
And Ann Shaybani. And I'm like super excited because it's time to get back on track.
Yeah, it's definitely ready to get back on track. I cannot believe that it is nearly the end of June already, 6 months from long ago and far away when we were sitting down and making our New Year's resolutions. I know you and I have our yearly planning templates sitting down next to us, and this past week I sent out to my list, to my coaching clients, to my private inner circle, and you did the same, I think, to your inner circle, our mid-year planning template. And it occurred to us that it might be good to share some thoughts and views on what the first half of the year held, and also to kind of get back on track for the second half. So we're really excited to be able to share this time with you. If you don't know us or our work, we are Summit Success. We're a personal and professional development firm, and we work with individuals and businesses around the world to create extraordinary businesses and extraordinary lives, stuff that rocks folks' lives. And we want that for each and every one of you. It's why we wanted to spend this hour together with you to kind of assess, take stock see where we are, and see what we need to do in order to turbocharge and skyrocket the second half of 2014.
And you know what? We had a lot of fun putting this together. We had a lot of fun, first of all, digging up our sheets and our goals and having the tough conversation, having the come to Jesus conversation about how well we've been doing this year, how well we've been doing, and maybe in some instances how well we have not been doing.
So, of course, the problem, we'll set up the problem right here up front. The problem, of course, is that 6 months have nearly gone by already. And, you know, the statistics are a little bit sobering and grim. I think only a very small percentage, it varies between 10 and 18 and 20% of people even bother making New Year's resolutions anymore. So jaded and discouraged have they become about even trying to accomplish them. And of those few in the universe who actually do make resolutions, probably 90% of those folks don't even bother to keep at it beyond
the 6 week mark.
Yeah, beyond the 6 week mark. We did a 6 week program, of course, to help people start off the year. But even when you have the best of intentions, and we're not big believers in resolutions, we're big believers in concrete goals. But even when you have concrete goals and you know where you're going, time has a way of intervening. Life has a way of intervening, and time goes by pretty fast. And it got to be June 1st, and then it got to be June 15th before I was sitting down writing my June newsletter. I just can't believe how fast this 6 months have gone. And of course, there's a tendency to say, well, just screw it, because 6 months is gone. I'll just wait till next New Year's to get back on track.
It's honestly, if I look at the way I think that, if I haven't done it by the June, I'm out of here. I'm done with it. I just want to kind of go back and sit on the couch and just chillax and forget that I have goals, because if I haven't done them by now, what the hell?
Well, the good news is this, is that it's glass half empty, glass half full. We have 6 more months, 6+ months to really fire back up our businesses and our lives, weight loss goals, business goals, relationship goals, financial goals, across the board. We got a lot of time.
We've got time
to get back on track, and this is really one of the reasons we wanted to spend this time with you, was to give you some concrete ideas as to exactly what you need to do in order to get from here to December 31st, achieving those things that are most important to you in your life. So the solution is going to be pretty simple. And we have this great platform. We've used it a few times. It's attached to Google Hangout. If you look on the right side of your screen, you'll find that there is a chat window where I've already chatted you up. If there are things that we're not hitting that you would like to chat on, fire them into the chat window. If we have a chance to address it, we will. And if we don't, we'll try to do a follow-up email on it. And keep in mind that this will get uploaded immediately to a video, and within the hour after the webinar, you'll have access to it to replay it, to review. So the solution is to get back on track. So the first question we have for you, and we're going to ask it of ourselves, is how are you doing?
Yeah, well,
and how are you doing? No,
I want to ask you first. How would you rate yourself? We set, at the beginning of the year, each of us set 5 goals, and we had asked our listeners to set anywhere between 3 and 5 goals, and these were goals, and we'll get into this, based on our values, where we wanted to improve certain aspects of our life. And you and I both set 5.
Yes, and we ask as you said, we ask our clients to do that. We have it's like the 20-page planning template for the new year. I've got mine in front of me. It's got lots of notes and interesting things. And there are 5 for 2014, and I've made some good progress on some of them. I've got some of them on the horizon scheduled. and I've got some that I haven't done so well on. So.
How would you give yourself a grade?
Well, you know, every morning when you and I run, we finish off our run. We're about a mile from home, and we give it a grade anywhere on the 1 to 100 scale. I'd give myself a B plus. I'm probably an 88, 89 on the year so far. I have as one of my goals to finish 2 books this year. And as you know, I finished 1 book and published it on May 1st. My goal, my deadline for that is my 2nd book is September. And I'm betting I'm going to make that. My publisher has agreed to pick up the entire series, so I'm on track to do that goal.
See,
other goals, not so good.
Yeah, I first of all, I find you incredibly annoying.
Thank you.
Because, you know, one of my goals was to finish my book by my birthday, which was June 6th. I've got a chapter left, even with you breathing down my neck, even though we had a competition who was going to finish the book first, and you won again.
Yes.
Which really annoys me. You know, I'm not quite there yet. I'm coming up on it. I can see the finish line.
So how would you rate yourself there?
Yeah, see, the difference between you and I, you tend to overgrade yourself. You give yourself, you know, a much higher grade. I'm kind of going to give myself an 80.
Okay.
Yeah,
and so were there other goals that you had challenges with?
I had, you know, one of my goals was to drop 12 pounds by February 12th, and honest to God, I dropped those 12 pounds, but I put like half of them back on. I put half of them back on, so I'm not like super happy about that. I gotta reconnect to my goal.
So they say you teach what you most need to know. So you know, despite the fact that we've got folks from all over the world on the webinar tonight, we could just turn off the mute and just do it for ourselves.
We could just do this for ourselves. But you know, here's the truth. The truth is that, you know, regardless of whether or not we're experts on this topic, we teach on this subject because we need to do this for ourselves. We need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to create goals for ourselves. We need to take these tools and templates that we're offering you and use them ourselves. For instance, this whole sheet, all the goal sheet that we created.
With our private clients,
I had to dig it out of the closet. It took me 20 minutes to find my flippin' goals.
Okay, so we'll come back to that because that is an issue that got in the way, I think, for you. So enough about us.
No.
The question is, how are you doing in 2014? And the question, how are you doing, presumes another important question, which is you had something that you intended to do. And as I alluded to early on, a lot of us have hopes and dreams and aspirations for the year, and so many times they don't get translated into concrete goals. We're going to talk about that. But so the question is, if you had concrete goals at the beginning of the year, what kind of progress have you made? What has gotten in the way? Where have been your successes? And where do you want to go next?
So I want to emphasize, you know, some of the folks on the webinar had been with us in December and January when we were originally setting our goals, and some of you are joining us for the first time, you know, mid-June. And you are, you know, we're inviting you to create goals. For those who joined us, we're inviting you to reconnect with the goals that you set at the beginning of the year.
Yes, absolutely. So if the cart has gone off the track, and it does for all of us, you know, life does get busy, life does intervene, and we all fall off the track from time to time. And so the question is, what now? What are we going to do now? We can throw up our hands and abandon the effort. We can give up, or we can regroup. We can get back on track, and we can rock the second half of this new year. Every day, every moment is the opportunity to begin again.
You know, I think that's the most important lesson, because for us high achievers, for us, you know, perfectionists, if we are not hitting it and you know, being perfect on our goals, if we're you know, taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, we end up beating the hell out of ourselves. and that is the most ridiculous thing to be doing to yourself, is what do we need to do right now? What do we need to do to put our caboose back on the track?
All right. So we want to tell you exactly what you need to do in order to get from here to the end of the year and really get back on track and supercharge your goals. There are 5 things. Get out your notebook, write them down. There are 5 things that you need to do. There may be a secret 6th one when we got there. Nope, we can't say that. But 5 things that you need to do. And as Jim Rohn, one of our heroes, used to say, these things are simple, but they're not necessarily easy. If they're easy, we wouldn't be doing webinars. We wouldn't be talking about carts going off the track. But they are simple principles, and they come from our proprietary Clarity coaching system that we use with a lot of our Inner Circle coaching clients. And the acronym we use for some of you who are with us at the beginning of the year is GET CLEAR. Get clear.
And that's CLEAR.
Thank you for that.
Case you're blind, you're on a webinar and you're blind and you can't read and you can't spell either.
All right.
That's
so
bad.
It's clear. So step number 1 is C, get clear. And what do we mean by get clear? You know, when we're growing up, we have these grand visions of who we want to be when we grow up, what we want to do, where we want to go, where we want to live, what kind of job we want to have, maybe what kind of partner we want to have in life, what we want to do for a career, where we want to travel. We do have these grand visions for our life, and somewhere, you know, mid-20s, late 20s, all of a sudden we're waking up day in and day out doing the same thing over and over again, feeling like the donut man who you know, is it time to make the donuts again? And we lose the clarity of our destination. And if you think about, you know, turning off this webinar right now and running down to JFK and walking up to the American Airlines ticket counter and say, "Give me a ticket," the nice lady or the nice man behind the ticket counter would say, "Sure, ma'am, sir, but where? Where do you want to go?" And so one of the big challenges of adult life and is to commit and maintain the vision of a destination. What do you want your outcome to be? What do you want your outcome to be this week? What do you want your outcome to be this month, this year?
And I know we're going to be talking about this as we move along too, but you've got to know where you are right now. You have to stand on the literal and the proverbial scale. You've got to know exactly where you are right now, and a lot of us don't like to do this. A lot of us like to pretend none of that exists and keep our head in the sand and say, "It's okay, it's okay."
So our mentor, Tony Robbins, who we've had the opportunity to study with, says, see things as they are, not better than they are, not worse than they are, but see things as they are.
Yeah, you got to
see exactly where you are in this moment.
Right, we have to make friends with reality. We have to make friends with reality.
All right, and then as much as that, I mean, reality is reality, and you know, another Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it, and we're both big believers in that. So if you can dream of a destination that you want to get to, you can absolutely get to that destination, but you've got to be crystal clear. If you show up at the ticket counter and you say, "I want an airline ticket to Barcelona, Orlando, or San Francisco," they're still going to say, "Well, which one? Which one do you want to go to? What is the destination?" If you get into your beautiful brand new car and you fire up your GPS, you've got to lock in a destination. You've got to lock in an address. And if you lock in that address, it will get you there to within 30 feet. And that's the beautiful part about getting clear. If you get clear about your destination and lock it in, you'll get there within 30 feet.
So I just want to clarify this. What do you want?
Yes, what do you really want?
What do you want? What do you want?
So I want to deep dive into that question, but before we do, we've got an important filter that I think that people need to run things through, and that's your core values. You know, one of the exercises we've talked about at the beginning of the year, a lot of the beginning exercises we do with our private coaching clients is getting clear on what really matters most to you.
And it's different. It's different
It's
for
different
everybody.
for everybody else.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, for me, my top core value is health and wellness. My second top core value is our relationship. Different people have top core values, but one of the things that's absolutely important for you to do, either alone or with an accountability partner, is to get crystal clear about what you value most in the world. Because when you can then have that sense of what you value coupled with your destination, your values become an important filter for making decisions going forward. And we're going to talk about that later in the webinar.
But wait. Do you mean to tell me that your fitness is more important than your relationship with me?
I think that's a wonderful question, and it's actually the title of a different webinar. And the answer is both yes and no, because here's the scoop. We talk about this a lot. If I don't nurture myself, if I don't take care of myself, if I'm shoddy with my health and wellness, I can't show up in our relationship in a strong way.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I just need to.
I
needed to clarify.
I was worried it was one of those questions like, do I look fat? That could not possibly be answered well. I don't know. Did I do okay?
You did okay. You did okay. But
all right, but the core values question is absolutely key, because it becomes the filter that we analyze everything else throughout this program.
Yeah.
Okay. So can I go on?
You can.
Okay. So you were talking about, the clarity of the goals.
Yeah.
And you talked earlier about, how critical it is to reconnect with goals that you've made. And I found it interesting that you had to go scrounging for your yearly planning list.
That's nice. That's a nice word.
Scrounging.
Scrounging. No, and you find it interesting as opposed to shocking. I found it shocking that I had to go do that. I was sure I knew what they were.
But I think, and I might be wrong, and I'll tell you that I'm owning it for myself too, because I have not kept my goals as close at hand in direct view. I think when we allow our goals to drift off our radar screen, one of the things I was working with a private coaching client on yesterday was creating a vision board. And we've got this great vision board in our master bedroom where, on that board we can see visual pictures of our hopes and goals and dreams and aspirations, and those things draw us forward in a very powerful way. The fact that your goals were tucked away in the closet kept them out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind.
All right, but I want to call bullshit on you, okay? Because one of the things about
is there
goals
an FCC problem?
I don't know. One of the things that you need to do with your goals is they need to be SMART goals.
Okay.
That means specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time sensitive.
Okay, but I just want to call you on something because you can't even get to a SMART goal if it's in your closet. So what I'm suggesting is one of the things that we have to do, you and me and all of our listeners, is pull out the damn goals and keep them close at hand.
Yes, and here's the truth. All right, besides you being sassy. The truth is, if you've set goals, if you set goals at the beginning of the year and you haven't accomplished them, it's very possible that the goals you set were not specific enough.
Okay, so you want to get into the SMART goals.
I want to get into your SMART goal. SMART goal. Okay, because one of your goals was you were going to do an ultra marathon, and I think what's interesting about ultra marathons is you actually have to choose a specific race, and it's time sensitive. It's a specific date.
Yes.
And I think one of the reasons that goal got away from you, and yes, you too have goals that get away from you. I'll just note here quietly, just between you and I.
Yes.
Just between you and I.
God and all these people.
Right, and all these people, is that it wasn't specific enough for you.
Yes, I think that's right. But there's a deeper problem, and we don't really have
4 hours.
The band. This is beyond coaching. But this is a different topic, really. It's an important topic, and the question, we deep dive into this in our 6-week program.
We have 6 weeks that we cover this.
Yeah, we deep dive in this is unpacking your why for a goal.
Yeah.
If you're, and I don't want to digress on this very long, but if your why for doing a goal isn't strong enough, I don't care how specific, how smart the goal is, you're not going to do it.
Yep, I agree with you.
Okay, so I think that I wasn't dialed in tight enough on my why for scheduling this ultra marathon yet, but I still have 6 months.
You do. You can pull that
so
right
let's
out.
just let's just go through what a SMART goal is quickly. Again, we deep dive in this in our 6-week program, but a SMART goal is something specific. So rather than saying I want to get healthier and fitter, the goal might be I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to lose 50 pounds. It's a specific number. It's also something you can measure. If you say I want my business to be better, better can't be measured unless there are metrics.
We call it mo better.
Yes, we can't make it better unless it's something that's measurable, unless you can get on the scale every day.
Yeah.
A goal, a SMART goal, has to be actionable. It's something you've got to be able to actually do and take concrete steps.
Yes, and realistic, you cannot go from being a couch potato to want to run an ultra marathon in 6 months. That is an unrealistic goal.
Yeah, and we've got some of our clients who have weight loss goals, and some of them are challenging weight loss goals, like 100, 150 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, those are some challenging goals, and yet they're not insurmountable when you break them down into realistic chunks.
Yeah.
And so, to have a big weight loss goal is beautiful and courageous, and then to break it down into something that's realistic and manageable, that it doesn't discourage you. For example, a pound a week over 50 weeks.
Yeah, it comes off. I saw it come off.
Well, absolutely. And then a time deadline. You already said that. Having a race date, having a wedding that you're going to show up on with a size 2 dress, having a particular date that you're going to take a trip or launch a product. Having a time deadline is pretty key to driving you forward. When I was first starting my speaking biz, my early coach, I said, what should I do first? He said, put it on the calendar. I said, I only have a program. He said, I don't care. Go out and schedule a talk. I said, I don't have any slides. He said, I don't care. Put it on the calendar. And I'll tell you, nothing made me scramble faster than having a date looming on the calendar.
Yes, so let's emphasize the point. If you are having trouble with some of your goals, if they're not happening, if they're just kind of floating amorphously out there and you're throwing up your hands, you want to re-examine and decide whether or not what you have created for yourself in the way of a goal is a SMART goal.
And whether or not it accords with your core values.
Yes.
And
your why
whether
is big
you
enough.
want it. Yeah, I'm thinking we probably should have thrown a slide in here on the why piece, because that why piece of why you want it is what drives you forward.
And we get into that. We get into that very deeply in our 6-week program. It is an important step. So what?
Well, I just advanced 2. So there. So number 2 of the clear program is to draw the line. I don't see it happening on the screen here.
I think technically you might not be nearly as swift as I gave you credit for.
All right, I'm still showing us live here, but let's just check our connection and be sure we're doing okay. So I am going to play with this slide.
Okay. There it is. No. All right. So we're going to carry on anyway.
We're going to carry on.
Because that's what you do. The show must go on.
I'm not quite sure why we're not connecting here with the webinar, but our number 2 point in the Clarity Coaching Program is the L, and it stands for lines and limitations, drawing lines in the sand. So once you know exactly what you want, when you're really clear about what you want and why you want it, then you can say no to all the rest. You can draw lines and limits about what's not working. Vincenzo Pareto was an Italian economist who, back in whenever it was, looked out into his garden and he saw that 20% of his peas yielded 80% of his pea pods. And that fascinated him, that was the case. And he began to extrapolate that rule. And he realized that 20% of the population in Italy owned 80% of the land. And he extrapolated even further into all of economics, and then it's been extrapolated over the years into various areas of business. And the truth is that 20% of your efforts lead to 80% of your outcomes. 20% of your products yield 80% of your I think that we're live. I hope still. Hello, everybody. I'm Walt Hampton. We still have live viewers here. The platform went down, but we're going to get our screen share back up and get back on track here. We're back on track with the back on track. So we'll start the screen share right where we are. I hope.
Let's see. Let's see. Oh yes.
All right.
We're back. We're back.
All right. So looks like okay. People are coming back up on the dashboard there.
Excellent.
I don't know what went on. We don't. Yeah. So I guess we'll just keep on going on. Okay. Let me clear out of that. All right, so we were talking about accountability partners, Annie, and one of the issues of the accountability partners is you and I have each other.
Yeah, we do.
Which is a beautiful thing.
We do hold each other accountable, and when we're having issues, when we're trying to figure out why things are not working, why things are working, then you know, like why this is. Please relog in.
All right. I'm still seeing us. We're still doing okay. We're still online here, and I'm still seeing our dashboard. We are apologize for the platform difficulties tonight. It's a little bit frustrating.
What the hell, man?
In any event, the last two pieces of this success leaves clues is that we have coaches who keep us on track.
We do.
You know, good coaches have coaches. It's absolutely important that that be the case.
We surround ourselves with teachers. We surround ourselves with mentors, people that we admire, people whose lives I think are wonderful models. We hang out with these folks. We make ourselves, you know, we do what it takes to either be going to workshops or buying time with these folks, because these are the people who teach us, that make our lives easier, that hand us over basically their entire learning process and making it easy.
All right, so I want to underscore this because it's easy to get kind of distracted and discouraged in mid-year, and you know, you feel like just throwing up your hands. There are no people failures. Nobody's broken. None of us is broken. Nobody's a failure. There are no people failures. When things aren't working, it's just a systems failure. If things aren't working out well for you, it's just because the system is not working. And if we can get you dialed back into a better system, then everything else will be a piece of cake.
You know, I noticed one thing where I started to put weight back on. We went to Ireland, and immediately I walked away from my systems. I strapped, instead, a feed bag of Irish cheese on my face.
I watched you do it.
And it was all over. But, you know, it's a matter of figuring out which systems are working for you. If you've walked away from them, if you've been inconsistent, forgive yourself, get back on track, because it's not you, the person, who's a failure. It's just you've walked away. Either the system itself wasn't working or you've abandoned the system.
All right, so it's critical then this mid-year is to either reclaim your system or to discover a system and to dial it back in, and then we need to move on to system 4.
Oh, to the take action
yes,
part.
The take
you mean
action
you have
piece.
to do something?
Yes, you actually have to do something. You know, you can have a beautiful brand new Lexus or Mercedes, and you can have it sitting out in your driveway, but ultimately you actually have to climb in the car and get out the door and turn the ignition and actually take action. And the action piece can be scary. I mean, we get scared about getting outside our comfort zone. Sometimes, you know, I stand at the beginning of a 50-mile race and the race looks too long. I may be standing at the base of a big mountain with you with our backpack on, and it looks way too hard, way too high. You know, looking at the potential for doing a 100-mile race seems way too daunting. When I remember when we were out on the Vermont 50-miler together, we got to that mile 32 place, and we had trained up to 32 miles. And what was really scary at that moment in time was that I had never run another 18 miles on top of 32, but I had run 4 miles and that was the distance to the next rest stop. And I knew I could do 4 miles, and so I had to tell myself I can get there. I can get to 4 miles.
You know what? It's you solve your consumer debt problem one credit card at a time. You lose the 100 pounds 1 pound at a time. You get the new job that you actually like one interview at a time, and it's just those small, consistent steps.
You know, I love the metaphor that Darren Hardy from Success Magazine uses of the old hand pump in the campground. You know, you send the kid out to get some water, and you pump and pump and pump the handle, and nothing comes out, and you pump the handle, and nothing comes out, and you pump the handle, and nothing comes out, and pretty soon, if you stay at it, a small amount of water, a little trickle will come out. But of course, by that time, most people have given up hope of ever having that large torrent. But what's true is if you stay at it just a little bit longer, if you stay at it just a little bit longer, a magnificent torrent comes out. The problem is most people give up before they prime the pump.
Or they've got the water pumping, it's coming out, they're flowing, and they stop pumping because they think, hey, I got it going. It's working. It's, you know, it's working. I don't have to try anymore. But guess what? You have to try, and you have to keep trying. It just doesn't quit.
Well, yeah, and you know that doesn't necessarily have to be something discouraging. I think one of the things that discourages people along the way is that people think something gets done. Like I lose the weight and I don't have to do anything. I launch the business, then I don't have to do anything more. I can just coast. I was reassured, or at least got reframed a few years ago when I was reminded of that adage that they paint the Golden Gate Bridge every day. They paint it day in and day out. They always paint the bridge, and they paint the bridge because by the time they get done at the end of the bridge, they've got to start over again. We've got a lifetime of work here, and we do it day in and day out. And you know, one of the great gifts that we have, of course, is that we work with people who are already successful, who want to take their lives to the next level, who are excited and on fire about their lives, and they want to do the work day in and day out. They want to know how to do it better. But the key is to stay at it and to take those small steps over time. Which brings us to step 5 in the Clarity Coaching program of Get Clear. It's review, repeat, and revise.
It's kind of like what we did today. We took our goals. We gave them a look over. You and I sat down and talked about where we were, what we were doing well, what needed to change, how we needed to step back up to the plate and carry on. So yeah.
So the review, repeat, and revise thing is also an ongoing effort. You know, I was curious about this story, and it's true that a plane flying from San Francisco to Honolulu is off course most of the time. But, you know, in most cases, unless you're flying the Malaysian Airlines, you course correct. You come back to the course time and again. When you and I sail over to Block Island on our sloop from Mystic, you know, we can vary back and forth by 5 degrees. And if you were 5 degrees off, you know, you'd end up in Bermuda over the course of days.
That could be nice.
You know, or in the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, well, that's not so nice.
But if you continually course correct, if you continually come back to the course, then you stay on the course and you get to your destination. So it's a continual review, looking at the numbers. I mean, if you created the SMART goal, looking at the numbers, seeing if you're making the progress, if you're not dropping the weight, is my system correct? Do I need to change my system? Do I need to tweak the system? Do I need to do something differently? Or you may be looking at your metrics and you may discover how good you're doing, and then you want to repeat what you're doing.
Yes.
You want to stay at it. You want to keep going. You know, I love that voice on your GPS. You know, you get off track. And we were talking about this as we were putting the slide set together today. You know, you get to the point you're driving from New York to San Francisco, and then you're in the middle of Toledo, and you get off route, you get off course, and your GPS says recalculating. It gives you the new route back to the course.
Yeah, and you don't beat the hell out of yourself and consider yourself an absolute loser because you've gotten off track when you're driving your car. Well, you do.
Well, and yes.
Well, no, actually, you usually blame me.
Yeah, of course.
But you usually blame me. But you know, it's a matter of you're off course. You recognize you're off course. You're not going to keep driving and driving and driving knowing you're off course. You're just not. You're going to figure it out. You're going to turn it around, and you're going to head in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely. So constantly reviewing, revising what's not working, revisiting your systems to find out what systems are serving you, what systems are not serving you, and then getting back on track, always recalculating along the way.
Calculating.
So we told you there were 5 steps, and we've where our webinar platform looks like it's gone off track, and we were going to share with you at this juncture a way to get back on track with access to our online program. It's a 6-week program that we send you a 1 module a week to help you get back on track, to deep dive into some of these wonderful concepts that we've been able to share with you this evening. What I'm going to do, because I don't want to take the risk of rebooting the system in the middle of the webinar, is we will actually follow up with an email to everybody who registered for the webinar and keep the offer open for the next week or so, so that folks can take advantage of it. It's kind of a crazy, attractive offer that included for folks a bonus hour with you and me. So I'm not even going to get into that, Ann, because you and I aren't big into webinar upsells anyway. So we'll just include. Is that okay?
Yeah,
we'll just include that in because I can't even pop it up because our webinar. Our platform is off track.
I know. Well, all I have to say is whatever. Let's
all right. So let's just go on to the 6th step, the forgotten step.
Oh, I love this one.
And we're not good at this step. It is the secret sauce that keeps it going. And I'll tell you that we're privileged to work with very high performers. We're privileged to work with people who are high drivers who want to get to destinations, and they are often too much like us in that they forget the secret sauce, secret sauce that keeps it all going. And that secret sauce is to celebrate along the way. Each day we're blessed to wake up with health and vitality, with opportunity, and we most days in our business we have at least small measurable successes, and too often we blow by them. I know one of my great life goals was to stand on the summit of Mount McKinley on Denali. I dreamed of that goal for 35 years, and I found myself, after you and I had the great gift of standing on that magnificent summit, of going back to my list and going check and moving on. And that's dumb. That's ridiculous.
It's so stupid. We'll accomplish these huge things. We'll come off the mountain, or we'll finish a race, or we'll whatever big project we've taken on. We look at each other, we're like, oh, yay, we did it. And 15 minutes later, we're like, okay, what's next?
Yes.
What's next? What more can we be doing? And that's kind of that's a mental illness.
Well, and, even when we don't necessarily hit the big goals, every day that we've shown up on the page, every day that we've shown up on our businesses, every day that we've shown up in our lives working toward these goals is progress. And sometimes, the writer Karen Armstrong wrote this beautiful memoir, The Spiral Staircase, about how much of our progress feels like coming back on itself time and time again, and our progress often isn't linear. But for the most part, if we're doing the work, if we're staying on the course, if we're pumping the handle, every little trickle that comes out, every little pump of the handle that we're able to stay at ought to be celebrated. We ought to affirm ourselves and lift ourselves up and congratulate ourselves and really acknowledge the hard work that we're doing and how beautiful it is to be able to show up every day and do that.
You know what? I was just talking to somebody she just published a book. It took her 22 years to write this book, and she did it.
Yeah, and I had the great gift of talking to a group of high school students last week, and I was sharing with them the my goal of climbing Denali, and I found the words coming out of my mouth because I was talking about staying at your goals, staying at your passion, staying at your dreams. It took me 35 years to accomplish that goal.
You know, we talk, you know, we're driving, we've got SMART goals, they're time sensitive, we're always, all of us are aware of how, you know, how little time we have, we want to get it done now, 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 now. But the truth is, you know, sometimes it's just the slow progress. We keep buying into the notion that these changes are going to be overnight, that you take a pill and you drop the weight, that you make one phone call and you suddenly, you know, you find the dream spouse. You know, you cut up one credit card and your entire credit card history is fixed. It's these things, some of these big things take months and years, and we get discouraged thinking that we're not, you know, we're not winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 6 months. And we set these goals for ourselves, and one of the problems we have is the R part of those clear goals, the realistic part. And sometimes part of it is just to reassess that. But in the meantime, for God's sake, celebrate.
And never quit. I want to finish up with one of my very favorite stories because I love to tell this story. And forgive me if some of you on the webinar have heard it, but I love to tell it, so I'm going to tell it again. It's the story of Cliff Young. And it's the story of persistence and tenacity and stay-at-itness. Cliff Young was a 62-year-old potato farmer from Australia, and he showed up one day at the starting line of the Sydney to Melbourne Ultra Marathon. Cliff was 62 years old, potato farmer, had never run a serious race in his life, and he wanted to register for this 544-mile ultra marathon. And of course, the race officials think he's crazy. He's never run a race before. He's standing there in his gumboots and his Wellingtons and his overalls, and he wants to run this race. And they won't let him register because they think he's going to die or hurt himself or hurt somebody else. This race draws the elite of the elite from the world. It draws the best runners from around the world. 544 miles. Well, you know, the risk managers all wringing their hands and the lawyers all wringing their hands, and finally, after all the releases are signed, they relent and they let Cliff Young start out on the Sydney to Melbourne 544-mile ultra marathon. Well, Cliff starts out, and 5.5 days later, Cliff crosses the finish line. And he crosses the finish line 2 days ahead of the course record and 10 hours in front of his closest competitor. Now, what's interesting about ultramarathons, which is unlike shorter road races, is in ultramarathons, you actually get to stop. You eat, you drink, you hydrate, and in really long races, people actually take naps along the way. Cliff Young didn't know that he was supposed to stop. He didn't know that he was supposed to rest. He didn't know that he was supposed to eat and sleep. He just thought he was supposed to keep on going. And so if you go off and YouTube Cliff Young, you'll see this video of this guy that's just trotting along. It's called the Cliff Young Shuffle. He's just shuffling along, shuffling along, shuffling along. And over the course of 5.5 days, this guy runs 544 miles, and he never quit. And so many people quit just shy of their goals. They give up just shy of their goals. They get to the middle of the year and they say, screw it, I hadn't been able to get there. I'm just going to screw it.
Screw it.
So our message to you is we have 6.5 months still to get back on track, to do magnificent work into the world, to create these magnificent businesses and these wonderful lives, and to make these astonishingly beautiful goals come true. And you can do it. We believe in you, and we thank you for spending this time with us. You got anything else to say?
I'm saying we could either carry forth and go after our goals, or like maybe go out for some donuts right now. What do you think? All
right. Well, thank you so much for spending this time. We apologize for the technical details with the platform. We will get you out a linked if you do want to take advantage of the 6-week program. You will get an upload of the webinar shortly by the autoresponder. And always know that we're a resource for you to create the work and the life you love, to make it incredibly extraordinary. Have a great evening. Make the rest of the year spectacular.
Good night, y'all. You're probably